Welcome to another episode of the Vegan Pulse. I am your host, Nancy Arenas. Today, my guest is Pat LaStrapes. Pat is an energetic explorer, voracious reader, animal lover, environmentalist, contented hermit, constant gardener, and a health nut. Stick around. I want to introduce him to you. Hi, Pat. How are you?
Hi, Nancy. Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure. I can't wait to listen to all these interesting things that I think I'm going to find out about what you have done, what you do, and how you exist these days. But first, can you tell me a little bit about your path into veganism?
It started about 10 years ago in earnest. I became a full-fledged vegan, an ethical vegan. During the 10 years preceding that, I was working my way in that direction, and I crossed the threshold about 2012 and have been vegan since. And my wife, Nolene, and I are both vegans, and we entered the path at about the same time, and we stayed on that path.
That is great. Was there a certain reason, health, animals, that led you there? Spiritual?
It was spiritual, primarily, ethical. At the time that we began working our way toward the vegan path, the food alternatives weren't so great. It was very difficult to find something that was satisfying and that appealed to our taste preferences for slaughtered meat. And that's changing in the past several years. Advances in plant-based alternatives have yielded quite a few great offerings that mimic meat. And with 3D printing and research, continuing research in taste and textures, the food's quite good. And I see continuing improvement, and it seems to be accelerating, and adoption appears to be taking off. And also, cultured meat is going to reach an inflection point where it becomes affordable. And so we'll see cultured meat in the offering before very long. Many of the fast food chains, Burger King, for example, offers the Impossible Whopper, and we love it. You know, we eat at Burger King now. And McDonald's will be offering the McPlant. And as this starts to happen, I think we're going to see some acceleration, acceptance, and people will experiment. And many of them will say, gee, this is not bad. It's okay. And so in many of the high-end places here in Houston, Hop Dottie is a high-end hamburger place. And they offer the Impossible Burger, which is great. It's wonderful. And pretty soon they'll have vegan cheeses and vegan dairy and vegan eggs. So I'm hopeful that we're going to see that within the next few years.
Yeah, and as you said, I went vegan in 2000. Well, I've been vegan for about 8 years now, and what I was going to say was, at that time, there were not a lot of choices, and the choices that were out there were hard to find. Now every store carries them. I could go to Albertsons, Smith's, Whole Foods, Sprouts, Natural Grocers, Trader Joe's, and everyone is carrying them. And as you said, they're tasting better and better.
Right, right.
And
here in Houston, it's HEB and Kroger, and there are meat alternative sections in the freezer boxes, which are populating. And every couple of months, the shelf space seems to increase. So I see that as a good thing as well.
And I think also one of the main things, I mean, the food is already out there, it's improving, and people who are tasting it are liking it. I think now the big thing is to get people who are flesh eaters to kind of move past that. That's all they have to have, because that's just their habit. That's just the normal, but the normal isn't always the best. As a matter of fact, normal usually is the worst. So I think as people start branching out and experimenting, like you said, I think that they're going to find that is not so bad. And perhaps this is the best thing they could do, because it is the best thing that they could do for the planet, for the animals, but for their own health and the health of their families.
There's a lot of thought leading that can help with adoption. For example, some high-end restaurants have conducted blind taste tests. A person is served a cultured meat dish, and right next to it is a slaughtered meat dish, and they appear identical, and they're made by Michelin-starred chefs. And what we're finding is that there seems to be very little correlation between the alternative, the cultured meat alternative, and a taste bias. What they're finding is people cannot tell the difference between the slaughtered meat and the cultured meat. I guess for vegans who might bridle the fact that these tests are conducted with both slaughtered meat and cellular meat, it's a way in. It's a sort of getting a foot through the crack in the door, and I see that as a good thing.
I understand that. Now, tell me a little bit about being an Ahimsic gardener.
Well, I have a garden that is fully matured. It's beautiful. It keeps me busy. That's my day job, you know. I'm very careful when I use a spade. I don't kill earthworms, so I don't dig. I don't need to dig because everything's there. Even after a hard freeze, it all comes back. And so I've found that my practices increasingly entail a mindfulness and awareness of the consequences of all of my actions. It's like going to the grocery store. I take a bag with me so I don't have to use paper or plastic. Just little things like that really, the minute changes in the way we do things can bring a more wholesome, holistic lifestyle. And so I try to be aware of all those things. So when I've had friends, I'll feed Norway rats, for example. I'll feed them almonds. And I've never had a Norway rat in the house. And my friends will say, well, Pat, you're going to have rats and they're going to breed and they're going to multiply. And I said, well, okay, but I still feed them their almonds. And I've had non-vegans they always bring up the food chain argument. And I think to myself, okay, look, you're wise. We're not going to go there. We don't need to take that path because that's a diversion. And so I usually dismiss the food chain argument, the fact that cats, our kitties that we love very much, are natural born killers. That's their natures. That's instinct. That's the way animals are. But as humans, we have the ability to rationalize, to think, to understand the balance of nature. And so that doesn't give us an excuse to say it's okay to kill. So Ahimsa means no harm, right? And so I will do no harm. And sometimes a philosophy, a belief, an attitude, an outlook doesn't require a well-developed logical explanation. If it seems right as rain, then there's a very good chance that it is in fact right as rain. And so Ahimsa is something that I practice in all aspects of my life, not just gardening or with the animals. So we don't use rat poison, we don't use roach poison, we don't kill spiders. I'll take spiders out on a spatula and put them outside. I don't want a spider to bite me when I'm sleeping, but we don't have spiders in the house. We have spiders outside. And, there seems like a natural environment, and I respect them and their right to exist. And so my view is that all beings have an equal right to exist. And we have no superior or first claim or dominion over the plants and animals. We would like to believe that. It certainly is self-serving, but I think that we all have an equal right to be here. And so just because we may have superior intelligence, and then again, who's to say, am I smarter than a dolphin? Maybe not. Dolphins can do things that I can't. And so how do you define intelligence? And my view is we have to look at them as our brothers and sisters, and we're all stardust, we're all on the same ride. And we have to find a way to coexist. And rather than thinking that we have a superior right, and a friend of mine said to me the other day, Pat, I look at it the same way you do. I do not, I think factory farming is wrong, but I like meat. And I says, well, then you don't think like I do, because if you eat meat, you're creating demand, and that demand kills an animal. And it's not just about abstention. There's a proactive side to it as well. That proactive side is the compassion, the connection that you feel with all of the known world, and the love that you feel for animals, and the respect that you hold for them, and the respect that you hold for their rights. So abstention is only one small part of being vegan. And you asked me before what the reasons were, and I said they were ethical. There are lots of reasons. One, the health of the planet. The Colorado River, before it empties into the Baja, is dry because we've been siphoning off water from the watersheds to support factory farming. We've not only depleted these watersheds and the aquifers that supply them, but we're also bringing degradation to those watersheds with the chemicals that we're pouring into the watersheds. The climate impact of factory farming is huge. Factory farming creates more greenhouse gas emissions than the entire transportation sector in the lower 48 states. And then there are the health issues. It's not voodoo science. It's a known fact that a vegan diet leads to better health. It's a more holistic approach to health. So there are health ramifications, climate ramifications. The fact that there's so much protein that goes into maturing livestock. The protein multiple is horrendous. You could feed the world 15 times if you didn't feed livestock. That will ultimately be slaughtered because humans have a taste preference. So there's that reason as well. We could feed the world. And lastly, it's just the horrendous cruelty, the unimaginable cruelty that takes place in farming operations. So I've said in the past, I said, factory farming's bad, but again, I'd have to say that there's no humane way to kill another being. Killing is a choice that you make because you feel you have a superior right to make that choice. You have a first claim on who gets to live and who doesn't. You get to pet your dog, but you can slaughter a pig for food. And so when you embrace veganism and go all the way, it's very difficult. Once you pull back the curtain, it's very difficult to go back. And it's very difficult to, in any way, compromise being vegan, because there's a whole host of contradictions that enter into your life. And it's very hard to do it when you know, when you've seen. It's one thing to be conveniently blind, and it's another thing to have seen and know and yet still make that choice. So it's almost a greater evil to understand what it means to be vegan and understand the principles, the rationale for being vegan, and yet still choose to kill animals. So it's for me, it's purely ethical. Now there are health benefits, and there are all sorts of benefits that come with it. So, but I believe that those benefits are ancillary, and the primary reason is creating a better world, healthier outlook, a happier world.
Thank you, Pat. It's been so wonderful to talk and listen to the things that you're posing, because it's absolutely true. Thanks again for being a part of the Vegan Pulse. Until next time, bye-bye.
Thank you, Nancy. Bye.
Thank you for watching another episode of the Vegan Pulse. I am your host, Nancy Arenas. Remember to like us on Facebook, check out our website, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. You don't want to miss an episode. If you have a pulse, you have a purpose. Live vegan.